The self-lockdown is coming, and will you go along with the plan? I was noticing something the other day as I was looking up more articles to do videos on, and I started seeing a pattern of viruses and diseases and bacteria and things of that nature that are all coming out seemingly at the same time, infecting humans one way or another, or infecting household pets. All right. So now, as I'm doing the research and I'm looking at it, and I started to say in my head, man, I wouldn't want to go outside if half the shit was actually going on at the same time. And then it dawned on me something that Maine and Massachusetts did, where they did a voluntary lockdown because of a mosquito that killed one guy, and the three towns in Maine, not all of Maine, but three towns in Maine, or three towns in Massachusetts, sorry, and I think one town in Maine or two, did a voluntary lockdown where after a certain time of night, which I think it's 6 o'clock right now, you go indoors and stay in there until the next morning, whatever it is. And that's voluntary. So I guess like you get everything you need, whatever you need for the night, and then you go inside, you don't come outside. And they're moving that time to 5 o'clock as of October 1st. In Maine, I don't know about in Massachusetts, it's October 1st. In Maine, I'm not sure. So as I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a second. Is this how they're going to get us to self-lockdown ourselves? By releasing multiple things, viruses, pandemics. Like we might actually see a multi-scale pandemic in our lifetime with so many things happening and so many viruses circulating the globe, and then scientists being scared of every last one of them. I shit you not, the scientists that they have, they're scared of their own shadows at this point. But I did notice something interesting is that each article had a scientist saying that they were worried about this becoming a pandemic. And it was probably five of the more recent things circulating, like monkeypox, triple E, which is, I think, the Eastern quinine encephalitis, and then the sloth virus, which is, I forgot the name of it, but it's this one here. So those are the three that they seemingly focus on. Then there was a leprosy scare that no one was really worried about, but then they're already talking about bird flu, and there's a new bird flu that might be new, rather, where there was no contact with animals. So that was a new one that just happened the other day. And then you have sexually transmitted diseases that are also out of control right now with these young kids and these old people that are having sex because of Viagra and other pills like it, and then young kids not giving a shit and not wearing anything, and so that's going on as well. So we're seeing an explosion of everything. So with that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, why not just stay home at this point? And that's when it occurred to me, self-lockdown. They can scare us, guys, so hard, so bad with all of these things going on, and people's response is going to be, I'm just going to stay home. You're self-locking yourself down. We did it with COVID for the most part. When Mr. 19 broke out, people just stayed home. Jobs said, you know what? We don't want you coming into work. Transit system was bare. There were still people on it, but some of you saw my earlier videos. There was barely anybody anywhere in the city because they locked themselves down. They stated that they wanted you to stay home, not that you had to. They didn't force anybody. They just recommended it, and people said, okay. Now, with a multi-front or multi-level pandemic with different things going on at the same time, I could see people going, you know what? I'm just going to stay home. I don't want my dick to bleed and my nipples to fall off. I'm going to stay home. And these are the things that they keep pushing every day in the news, which gets more people anxious, more people scared. And if something becomes a pandemic level, I could see people locking themselves down. So you have all of these viruses, and then they have a new tick, by the way, that invades the brain. This tick goes specifically for the brain, buries itself in the brain, and winds up killing you over time. Now, I didn't read how much time it was, but still, where did this tick come from? And this tick is, lo and behold, China. Interestingly enough, guys, people are seeing a lot of weird things for the first time in China. This was the first time this tick was ever seen, and it's been recorded being in somebody's brain or a few people's brain. This is a problem. So again, guys, you have tick-borne diseases that are killing people or making people very sick. You have, again, sexually transmitted disease that are exploding all over the place. Then you have monkeypox, like I said earlier, triple E. The sloth virus is Oropouche virus. Then you had the leprosy scare. You had West Nile, which Fauci just caught. You had the Candida auroris. Again, all of these things, guys, are happening at the same time. Now, I do not remember before Mr. 19 them notifying us of every little thing that went on. And now they are. And every time, like I said, you open up your computer or go on your phone, some new shit's popping up. They got some fungal bacteria, fungal disease in Japan right now that killed, I think, a couple of people. Again, it's everywhere around the world. And I think, guys, that if the World Economic Forum and WHO wanted to control people, how do you control people? You scare the shit out of them on a daily basis, and then you tell them, well, maybe you guys should stay inside, and people will go, maybe I should stay inside, and people will stay inside. Because now they don't want anything to do with any of these viruses that are going around. They don't want to get sick. They don't want a tick to land on them, so they're not going to go camping. This tick right now, the brain one, is in China. It will undoubtedly make its way here because the Chinese love carrying shit with them across the world, as they did with Mr. 19. So with that, guys, this is just something that I'm noticing, and I think that we are, not us per se, but everybody else, I can see them self-locking themselves down. They're going to call it voluntary, but people will self-lock down because that's what it is. You can call it voluntary lockdown, self-lockdown, moron lockdown, whatever kind of lockdown you want to call it, but it's people doing it to themselves without the government having to step in, without a doctor having to tell them. People are just going to start staying home because they don't want any part of the nonsense that's going on. Anyway, guys, this is the Angry Prepper. Thank you for watching.